Welcome in, everyone, to the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Happy Draft Monday, y'all.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
It is the return of Chris.
Yeah, sorry. Been a little over a week now since I've been on, but I'm back and I'm ready for the draft. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Well, we got a lot to cover today. USFL Week 2 recaps. And then we had a massive trade happen during Logan and I's property class. You know, that went down. And just a couple news notes, and then we'll preview USFL Week 3 because we won't have a Friday show to do that, and then we'll finish up with Logan's personal complete first round mock draft.
Wait, before we get into it, I'm sure you were going to say it during the outro, but what's our schedule for this week? Are we doing a Wednesday show now, right?
Yes. Yeah, we will have our show complete mock draft, first round mock on Wednesday. Time, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, if that's good.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, time is TBD at this point, and then we will start at 7:45 Eastern on Thursday night. You'll see. I'm gonna feel like Goodell in the COVID drafts, because I'm gonna be sitting in my chair in my living room. I might change my chair to the lounger. I don't know. I gotta see. Maybe I'll switch it out like he did halfway through the draft last year.
Uh-huh.
All right. But starting off here, USFL Week 2. This was the only game I got right this weekend. I had a fall from grace. I am now 5-3 in my USFL picks. I shouldn't have ever sent that text in the group chat that I went 5-0 after Friday night, and then I went 0-3 the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Generals get their first win of the season, 10-6 over the Michigan Panthers. This was an absolutely horrendous game. Quarterback play was terrible. DeAndre Johnson was pretty good. So was Louis Perez in terms of, completion percentage. It's just they didn't throw it very far. Perez threw a pick. Yeah, there just was nothing on offense for either team. Victor scored the game-winning touchdown because it was 6-0 early for Cameron Scarlett and the Panthers, and then Generals got a field goal, and then eventually Darius Victor punched it in. But yeah, leading receiver, former Packer, Logan, Darius Shepard, 5 for 58 for the Generals. His first significant action of the season, off 6 targets.
Depending on the draft goes, he might be a Packer again.
And defensively, I'm going to go with Orion Stewart on the losing end for the defensive player of the game anyways. Panthers safety there, 5 tackles, 3 solos, a pick, and 2 pass deflections. Did you get a chance to watch the games? I know you said you were going to, Logan.
I did not. I found myself sucked into trial briefs, outlining, and Bucks basketball. So I did not.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to watch any of these games either, but from what I've seen from the highlights and stuff and like all the hype about it, it does seem like it's a lot of fun. And I probably should get into it. But Rusty, obviously you're the one of us that's been watching these games, been paying attention the most, but I know it's not NFL level, but is it at least on par with like the FCS that we watched last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been pretty good ball. This game was an outlier for this weekend in terms of points, because last weekend there weren't a lot of points scored. I think the high score last weekend was 28 for a team. This weekend we had a bunch of points scored, especially on Saturday. Both scores, the two games on Saturday were very high scoring. And then we'll get into the Sunday game eventually.
Are there a lot of recognizable names in this league or no?
At quarterback, yeah. I think some of the other positions there are.
But not really to the average fan?
No, I don't think there's as many names as like we saw with
The XFL?
both the AAF and the XFL's original return. Some of the teams do have quite a few notable players, but I mean, like here, Shea Patterson, Louis Perez played in both the AAF and the XFL. Mark, what is up, man?
What up, guys? Good to hear your guys' voices.
Happy Draft Monday to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Lance Lenoir played for the Cowboys for a couple of years. He's one of the more notable ones. Chris Orr was a Wisconsin standout. His brother, Zach Orr, with the Ravens for a bunch of years. And Devontae Bosby has been around the league, too. I know he played for the Eagles and for the Broncos, most notably. The Generals covered, though, -1, under 40.5 hit in this one. Saturday, the Philadelphia Stars won the Battle of Pennsylvania, beating the Pittsburgh Ballers to get their first win, 30-23. Brian Scott was outstanding. I mean, I think he is still the leading passer in the league. I'd have to check that, but he has 474 total yards passing through 2 games. 3 touchdowns in this one. And I mean, it's crazy, man. Division III Occidental College. I don't know. Mark's our college guy. I don't know if you know too much about Occidental, Mark.
I've heard it. They usually are pretty good in baseball.
Yeah. Brian Scott was very good there. I can tell you that. But yeah, he also ran one in for a touchdown, completed the first ever 3-point conversion.
That's so awesome.
Paul Terry lining it up on the 10-yard line after the touchdown. Josh Love was pretty good in his own right. He did throw 2 interceptions. One was a big tip. I think that was the last one that ended the game, essentially. Just a couple of kneel downs after that. But yeah, I was pretty impressed by Josh Love. They didn't play their other quarterback. I'm blanking on who that was, who played in week 1. Kyle Lauletta. They didn't play Lauletta. Like I said, partly because Josh Love was doing very good. Another Wisconsin guy, Garrett Groshek. He led the way running the ball, 18 for 77, good average there. I was pretty surprised by Paul Terry leading the backs for Philly, because he didn't even get a carry last week, I don't think. They were running it with Darnell Holland a bunch last week. But Terry got most of the carries. I mean, they barely ran the ball. They only ran it, including Scott's carries, 16 times for 45 yards. horrible 2.8 average there. But Bailey Gaither for Pittsburgh, he and Josh Love already had a connection prior to coming to the USFL. They played together at San Jose State. He had a marvelous game, 7 for 117. The 2 targets that he didn't get, though, I know one of them he should have caught. Love dropped it into the bucket on the sideline, and Gaither couldn't come up with it. I don't remember the other one he didn't haul in, but marvelous game for him. Marvelous game from Maurice Alexander for the Stars as well. 8 for 87, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets there. Jordan Sewell got 10 targets for the Stars. DeAndre Overton scored for Philly as well. Hunter Tedford scored for the Maulers. And defensively, there weren't many stats in terms of, how I like to look for that 3+ extra stat category, not just tackles. So there were only 2 guys outside of the 10 tackle mark that I always put on there. Ladarius Wiley led the way there. But Jalen McLean-Sapp for Pittsburgh, that's my guy. 3 tackles, 2 solos, a pick 6, 79 yards to the house. He had a pick, a pass deflection, and a fumble return, 79 yards to the house. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Come back late. Like I said, Josh Love threw a pick, and then just a couple kneel downs for Brian Scott and the Stars.
Wait, a couple things about this game. One, I'm just shouting out Ladarius Wiley there from Philly getting 10 tackles because I feel like double-digit tackles are hard for somebody in the secondary to get, especially a safety. And 2, I don't know if you discussed this coming into the season or whatever, but you kind of just glossed over it here. So I was like the 3-point conversion thing. I didn't know that was a thing. So is that like replacing the 2-point conversion in the NFL, or is that in addition to like the 2-point conversion?
Yeah, so on touchdowns in the USFL, you can go for 1, 2, or 3. 1 and 2 are the same. It's the 1 point is a 15-yard line kick. 2 is 2-yard line, 2-point conversion, and 3 is from the 10-yard line.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting for like the NFL to implement, but I highly doubt they ever will.
Yeah, and it's crazy now because now a 2-score game is 18 instead of 16. But yeah, Bailey Gaither is your USFL leading receiver right now. He has 159 total yards. And I was right. Brian Scott is the leading passer, 474 yards through 2 games. That is, if my phone would like to load, that is 58 yards more than the next guy, which is Kyle Sloter. He also leads the league in passing touchdowns with 4. And he leads the league in points, 33 total points for him. But anyways, the Stars did cover. I know Logan and I, we were like, bro, 6.5 is way too much right now with these games going so close. And of course it landed at 7. Of course it did. So they covered minus 6.5. And the over 35.5 hit. It got up a little bit before kickoff. I think we had it at 34.5 on the show on Friday. Kicked up a point or a half a point there. The Stallions stay undefeated. The hometown team 33-28 over the Houston Gamblers. Just another one I got wrong. That's the thing I was mad about the 2 games on Saturday. They were 1-score games, which made me mad. I was like, bro, I was so close to getting these right and going 7-1 through 2 weeks instead of 5-3. But alas, I did not get the right bounces in these 2 games. But yeah, Jamar Smith continues to be electric for Birmingham. Again, last week came in for the injured Alex Magoo and was outstanding, especially on the ground. Didn't run it as well this week, only 8 for 31. But passing the ball, he was good. 3/4 or 2/3 completion percentage there. 229 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw a pick. Luckily for him, he only threw 1. Clayton Thorson threw 3, and was not a good day for him. Nor was it a good day for Kenji Bahar either, who got his first action of the season. Was absolutely terrible. 1 for 6, 9 yards. Thorson, though, I didn't think was terrible, that bad. Even though the stats show it, it was pretty bad. Again, they only lost by 5, so he didn't hamper them too much. Again, we always say though, maybe if he doesn't throw 3, if he only throws 2 or 1, maybe they win. Who knows? But running wise, Mark Thompson continues to have a good season. He is your USFL leading rusher, 164 yards through 2 games. CJ Marable is your rushing touchdowns leader. I believe he's tied for that, Mark, considering he only has 2. He's tied with TJ Logan with 2 rushing touchdowns on the season. Marlon Williams led the game in receiving. His first significant action, former UCF receiver, was really good there. 3 for 88 and touchdown on all 3 of his targets there. Tyler Simmons, Mark, disappointed in this game, very much so. Georgia boy there, 2 receptions, 53 yards. Did score a touchdown, but he only caught 2 out of 10 targets.
Yeah, he had 10 targets and only 2 catches.
Yeah, I know a couple, at least one of those was a drop. I think a couple of the other ones were misfires on the quarterback's part.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like 2 for 10, that sounds atrocious even for like the worst receiver. So I feel like that's not all on the receiver. You just said he had the 1 drop that you know of. He might have had like 1 or 2 more, but
I think
there's
he
no
had
way that
at most 2.
Yeah. There's no way that he missed like 7 targets there.
Yeah. Osiris Mitchell continues to have a good season. He is your USFL touchdown leader, tied with Maurice Alexander, the Stars, who we just talked about, and Isaiah Zuber with the Gamblers with 2 touchdowns receiving. 3 for 48, touchdown on 7 targets. He also had Victor Bolden. Massive workload for him, but not many yards. 4.9 per reception on 8 catches for 39 yards, but 12 targets for the Stallions receiver. He did put the ball on the ground once. Like I said, Zuber scored. Donald Payne, dude. Donald Payne continues just to dominate and rack up tackles. This man is absolutely crazy. 15 more tackles, 8 of them solos in this game. Bro, he has 33 tackles through 2 games. I mean, he had 19 last week. So maybe they stat corrected to 18 or 14.
I was going to say 19 plus 15 is 34. So
I don't know. They had to stat correct either this game or the last one. Regardless, he leads the league in tackles by a wide margin, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the next guy only has 21 total tackles. There's 2 guys at 21 tied for second. And he also in solo tackles too, because we, put more weight on those. He has He has 7 more solo tackles than the next couple people that are tied at 14.
Yeah, that guy's all over the field, but even the total tackles though, that shows that he's in a lot of plays. He's making at least half the tackle that he needs to. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Unfortunately for him, it wasn't enough to get the game, the win for Houston. And we have 2 guys that scored. There were 2 defensive touchdowns in this game. I like the bottom 3 guys on the list. I don't know if y'all want to vote for your defensive player of the game, but Will Likely, corner for the Gamblers, 6 tackles, 5 of them solo. He had a tackle for loss, a 62-yard pick six, a pass deflection, a forced fumble. Corner Brian Allen for the Stallions. He's one of my guys, former Steelers draft pick. 3 tackles, one of them solo, 48-yard pick six, and 2 pass deflections. And then linebacker Lorenzo Burns for the Stallions as well, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 picks, and 2 pass deflections.
Yeah, I think that Burns there deserves a lot of recognition because he might not have the touchdowns like the other 2 guys have, but he had 2 picks, which picks in themselves are game changers. You don't necessarily have to score on the interceptions to make an impact. So the fact that he got 2 of them, and he's a linebacker too, so that factors into it too.
Yeah, he's actually tied with Will Likely and Channing Stribling for the Stars. They are at the top of the interceptions board, all having 2. The Stallions covered -3, over 41 hit.
Wait, how long are is this season? How many games?
10 regular season and 2 playoff games.
Because, I mean, I don't know what, what legal situations or whatever you want to call it, but the players that are in this league, can they opt out of their contracts after the season and sign with an NFL team?
Yes, they can go to the NFL. However, they can't go to the XFL if the XFL would like to sign them. The teams own the rights to the players through 2 years. 2024 would be the first time they are eligible to get out and play in the XFL.
No, because I was just thinking about it, like going back to the guy Donald Payne. Like if he continues on that path that he's on right now, he might be on an NFL roster at the start of the NFL season. Because if my math's correct, it'll all be done before the season starts. So
yeah, the championship is July 3rd.
Yeah, so that's even before training camp. Or I mean the preseason, not training camp.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of these guys. You're going to see a lot of these guys making at least the initial, initial 90, right? Training camp.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, unfortunately, the unders were not hitting. At least this one. This was the only one that we said under because it was over 40, and they put up some points in this game. I didn't get to watch the second half of this game. I had to work on Saturday night. Same thing with the Generals game, but yesterday. I literally hate myself so much for what I said on the Friday show. I said, this is going to be the best game of the week. It's the 2 best teams. It's my number 1 and my number 2 team picked from my preseason picks. And yeah, my number 1 team got annihilated by my number 2 team. The New Orleans defense was absolutely outstanding. They looked like the freaking 85 Bears out there. Kyle Sloter in his own right on offense was great. 266, 3 total touchdowns. They had I think the Tampa defense just couldn't get off the field. They would get to so many third downs. And the thing is, early on, New Orleans went into the hurry up offense and it was just killing these guys. I mean, it was close to 80 degrees in Birmingham on yesterday, and the defensive players were just so tired. And it didn't help the fact that their offense started the game with 3 straight 3-and-outs. I mean, they were just back on the field so quickly and no time to rest. And the New Orleans offense was not stopping or slowing down. And yeah, my MVP pick, Jordan Ta'amu, struggled mightily. The pass rush was there all day for the Breakers, and he threw a pick. Brady White didn't fare any much better when he came in the game for his first touches this season. His pick was absolutely horrible. I mean, he threw it right to the corner. It wasn't even close. So I definitely think they're going to have to stick with Ta'amu. His rushing ability was pretty good at times in this game. But again, Kyle Sloter and his story, I don't if y'all don't know about Kyle Sloter's story. Northern Colorado didn't even start there at quarterback. He played he started as a wide receiver and then had to go into the game in their second game of the season. I think it was his junior year, and put up like 400 something yards and three. And they were like, all right, you're good. You're our guy. And then has bounced around from camp to camp. Preseason stand Vikings in a couple of their seasons. Yeah, Kyle Sloter has the Breakers at 2-0 right now. And like I said, he has the second most yards right now. The TJ Logan, another touchdown. Like I said, he's tied for the league lead with 2 rushing touchdowns. Jordan Ellis, though, 64 yards on the ground. He led the game in that respect. Cheyenne O'Grady wasn't as big of a factor in this game. But, yeah, he led the Bandits. I don't think he led the game. Yeah, I forgot to put some stats on here, y'all. Some key stats too. I forgot to put the receiving stats for New Orleans, which there were some pretty good games for New Orleans. But before I talk about that, Cheyenne O'Grady though was the leading receiver for the Bandits, 2 for 21, 3 targets. I had to write this down so I would remember it. Cheyenne O'Grady, I'm just saying, he looked like Gronk out there, man. One of his receptions, he bowled through like 4 different people, was stiff-arming people left and right. All he needs is the elbow brace, and I think he looked almost like an exact match. But New Orleans receiving, though, our guy, even though the Bandits lost, I was happy this guy had a really great game for New Orleans because we mentioned him on Friday, Logan. Jonathan Adams, Arkansas State receiver, 5 catches, 92 yards, 9 targets. And he had a couple one-handed grabs that he just went up and mossed the guy. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous, especially with the one catch he had.
Yeah, Jonathan Adams needs to be on an NFL team this summer. Like, he just needs to be.
Yeah. Johnny Dixon.
Todd Haley's got connections.
Well, Todd Haley's the Bandits head coach, though, Mark.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one receiver that did good for him.
Oh, no, yeah, I was talking about the Breakers receiver, Jonathan Adams. Also for New Orleans, Johnny Dixon, 5 catches, 42 yards, touchdown on 9 targets. Sean Poindexter scored a touchdown as well. Yeah, that was the receiving for the Breakers. Defensively, I had to go the defensive tackle there, Camilo Tongamoa for the Breakers. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection. Vontae Diggs is another guy that's been having a good season through 2 games so far on defense. The Breakers, plus 2.5. They're the only underdog to win this weekend. Under 40.5, though. That's crazy. That's crazy. You got one team scoring 34, and you still can't get the over. All right. Let's get the NFL news here. like I said, there was a massive trade around was it like 350 Central or something like that? Here we go. Yeah, we got the Texans. They traded their sixth and seventh round selections, number 183 and 245, to the Patriots for the Patriots fifth rounder, number 170. Again, Billy B just stacking the picks. They didn't have a seventh round pick, so they get one now. Add a sixth rounder. Texans didn't have a fifth round pick, so they get one now. They already have like multiple sixth rounders. So
Yeah,
I find this trade really. Go ahead.
I didn't know about this trade, so when you said that there was a massive trade, I was very confused. I was like, I definitely would have heard of a massive trade. I thought you were serious about the massive part.
it's
So
just thinking Devo.
yeah, well, no, that's a whole other story that I'm sure we'll talk about on Wednesday or Thursday when it happens. But yeah, this is just I was not expecting this slide at all.
I think it's kind of funny, this trade, because it feels like a draft day trade, you know?
Yeah.
Like what are the Texans trading up for? Like, they don't know who's going to be there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, they must really like how their board looks like around the fifth round.
Yeah, I mean, to move up, 13 picks is, you got to do it. Maybe Nick Cesario has something planned for later on Saturday that he doesn't want to pick in the seventh round. He's got to get out to a party or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Patriot connection obviously is working well once again. Okay. Other NFL news. There's not much. It was so quiet this weekend. There was no news going on because everyone was waiting for May and this week to start breaking everything. So a couple draft nuggets here. The Panthers not expected to trade for Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield prior to the first round on Thursday, if they do at all. I pray to God that they do not trade for him at all. We already have one of the top 3 picks from that draft class. We do not need 2.
That's why I want them to trade for him, because I think it would just be hilarious that they had the top 2 quarterbacks from that draft.
Well, at that rate, we might as well trade for Saquon too. Get all three of the top 3 picks in there.
Dude, run the wishbone. Run the wishbone with Saquon and McCaffrey. That'd be sick.
The issue is I don't even know how the Panthers would trade for Baker in the first place, because they don't have any picks. They don't have any picks from rounds 2 and 3. They don't have a pick. And I would highly doubt the Browns trade Baker for anything lower than a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Considering he's still young, granted he only has 1 year on his contract left, but he's still a young quarterback and he has won and been to the playoffs.
I don't think it was necessarily him though, but he had a good team around him that year.
Well, I don't know.
I think a better quarterback would have brought the Browns further in that playoff.
Maybe. I don't remember who they played in the divisional round. We don't have to talk about the wild card game.
Well, they didn't win that game either. The Steelers just lost that game.
They played the Chiefs, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they played the Chiefs, but they lost because Mahomes was still out, and then
Chad Henne.
yeah.
Chad Henne got him. Next thing here. I know Chris is interested in this one. So Shefty put out this morning, there's a surplus of teams in the top 10 specifically trying to trade out. No one wants to come up. right now. I mean, there's no. We talked about this on Friday a little bit too, and there's just no players that teams are willing to spend future first round picks for to come up multiple spots into the top 10.
Well, I don't know if you heard about this one specifically, but I saw something on Twitter earlier. I forget who I saw posted it, but something about the Eagles willing to move up to 4 with the Jets using their 2 first-round picks for Gardner.
Again, I don't think, I think the Eagles are the most likely of anyone to make a trade because Howie Roseman likes to do deals. Especially he's very good at fleecing people out of picks. But I think the Eagles are content now with 2 first-round picks, and their capital that they have next year. I just don't think they would be willing to, as great as Sauce is, I don't think they're a corner away. I think they need that extra pick to get a receiver and something else on defense, whatever position that is.
Yeah, and I've also heard from the Jets Twitter and all that the 49ers are interested in the number 10 pick if they do trade Debo there. I don't know if I like that because, I mean, we got the details of the Tyreek deal that would have happened, and that was for the 2 second-round picks, which I know with the value chart or whatever, it's kind of an equal thing. But I'd still rather get rid of the 2 second-round picks rather than the 10th overall pick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the Niners. Yeah, I mean that's their only chip to get into the first round. I mean, they're drafting at 61 right now. So.
Yeah. And then I mean you gotta give up a top 10 pick, and then you gotta pay the guy $25 million a year. That's the thing. So I mean you could get a guy who, I mean, there's only one Debo, right? So I mean he is valuable, but I mean you could get an effective rookie at that position at 10 who is much cheaper and could still be effective in that offense.
And I also don't think that Debo's worth the $25 million that he wants either.
Right. Yeah. Well, especially since he's talking about how he doesn't want to play the hybrid role. Well, I mean, that's essentially where his value is. You want him to do that. So, and then for the teams looking to move up into the draft, I mean, the reason why no one wants to move up is not only because it's a weaker draft class, but I mean, you got to think about the opportunity cost. Like, for example, like we were talking about the Eagles, would you rather have Sauce Gardner or Jameson Williams and like Trent McDuffie or Andrew Booth or somebody, 2 guys?
Kobe Dean.
Right. Yep. So I think we are going to see movement in the draft, but I don't think it's going to be these like blockbuster Team X moves into the top 5 type deal. I think it's going to be more like Saints move up with, the Vikings 6 spots to get X player. I think you're going to see more of that.
Yeah, I definitely think that the bigger trades are going to be towards the end of the first or even in the second round on Friday. There's going to be a lot more of the bigger jumps rather than early on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think I was watching ESPN a little bit. They were valuing Debo at 13th. 13th overall pick is what Debo is valued at right now. So do with that what you will. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I've already stated my issues with drafting for a guy like Debo. So and then just one other thing, the Bears got some offensive line depth help. They signed Colts offensive tackle Julian Davenport to a 1-year deal today. Pretty good backup for the Bears. Going to be their swing tackle, I would think. They have a couple guys there with Larry Borum going into his second year, and Tevin Jenkins as well. So
I can't wait till next week after the draft when the rest of these big name free agents start going off the board again.
yeah, Tyrann Mathieu,
Yeah, Matthew,
number one free agent,
Jones, Jadeveon Clowney,
Earl Thomas.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If he, yeah.
Jets need safety help yet?
No.
All right. I forgot to put these slides in here. My bad. But USFL Week 3. So we have 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. So on Saturday, first game here, 1-1 teams. The Tampa Bay Bandits against the Houston Gamblers. That is 4 p.m. on Fox. I don't think we have odds out yet. Oh, we do. Okay. Tampa is a 1.5 point favorite. Total is over under 39. And I really don't know who to go with. I'm probably gonna have to stick with Tampa. I mean, they still were my number one team in the preseason. I like their defense still. When you look at the matchup, they win most of the categories that are listed here, anyways. Except for points. That's the only one they lose big time. They're only averaging, with their 3 spot, they're only averaging 10 points a game right now. They put up 17 in week 1. The Gamblers are 22.5 points because they put up 28. But again, I think it's the defense, man. The Bandits are allowing less than 100 yards rushing per game. The Gamblers have a rushing problem on defense. They're allowing 179 rushing yards per game.
Jeez.
I mean, yeah, that's.
I mean, I know it's a small sample. It's only 2 games, but still, 179 yards a game is a lot.
Yeah. And also, again, with the defense of Tampa, they're allowing 18.5 points per game. So under what Houston is averaging too. The issue I see, though, is Tampa doesn't have a good running attack. They are only averaging 97 rushing yards per game. So it's one of those, like, which weakness will prevail? Will it be the Houston rushing defense or the Tampa rushing offense? I don't know. Because the same thing on the other side, though. I already mentioned Tampa's defensive rushing statistics. Houston is pretty good at running the ball, 118.5 rushing yards per game. Not, the best, but is more than Tampa's giving up on the ground.
This might sound stupid, but I think it really depends on the score of the game. Meaning, like, obviously the situation of the game, like the team that's leading normally runs the ball more. So whoever scores first is going to probably start rushing and all that. So, I mean, I guess it really depends on, like I said, who scores first and who scores more.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be on Ta'amu's shoulders. The Gamblers are giving up almost 200 passing yards per game, and I think he has to be the guy that he was in week 1, when he put up 185 yards. You know, you just can't throw 2 interceptions like you did. But yeah, I think they have to pass the ball because I'm not so sure about their running. BJ Emmons and Jawan Washington, I'm not so sure about their running backs. So, and in terms of Houston's rushing attack, they have the leading rusher in the league. Mark Thompson, 164 rushing yards, had a 93-yard performance in the loss. But their issue is turning the ball over. You know, Clayton Thorson threw 3 picks. Kenji Bahar was terrible as well. So it's really, you know, this game is going to come down to which quarterback bounces back, I think. And I think it's going to be Jordan Tom, who's going to do it. I think Todd Haley is an experienced coach. Oh, he'll get him up to play for the game.
I like it. I like it. Sticking to your guns, doubling down on Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, 4 p.m. on Fox. Over-under is 39 right now. I don't know what to do with that number. 39. Like, what is that? But
Yeah, I noticed that when you were going over the recaps. These over-unders seem to be very low in this league.
well, that's because
I get the quality of play and all that, but still.
week 1, the first game went over, I think it was, and then the rest of the 3 games in week 1 went under. And again, we saw 2 out of the 4 this weekend go over because of high scoring on Saturday, and just a weird game yesterday. So yeah, again, I don't know what to do with 39 with a team that's averaging 22.5 versus a team that's averaging 10.
Defense wins.
I would think so.
I mean, that seems to be the
Houston's given up 22.5.
no, but defenses seem to be the theme of the league so far. I mean, I don't know if that's more the defense being good or the quality of the quarterbacks not being good, but defenses seem to win out so far in the 8 games that they've played so far.
I think it's more the quarterbacks, to be honest. Because I don't think there's been a game yet that we haven't had an interception.
Probably not.
Not that I can remember, anyways. But that's the first game. The second game on Saturday, the Stallions, hometown Stallions, 2-0. It's a 2-0 matchup. They are playing the New Orleans Breakers. And I mean, I said about the Tampa New Orleans game was going to be good. I mean, I can't think that this Stallions Breakers game is not going to be good, especially from what we saw this weekend. Jamar Smith is up for Player of the Week again. He was Week 1 Player of the Week. He's up for Player of the Week again this week, I think. And looking at the stats, I mean, I don't have the entire league stats. I'm just looking at the game preview here on the Fox Sports app. All the stats go towards New Orleans, except for 2 key things. Points per game. The Stallions, I would have to think, are leading the league in points per game. They're averaging 30.5 points per game right now. And they also beat out New Orleans by a couple yards in passing yards, 213.5 per game. But all the rest of the stats, man, they are in the favor of the Breakers. They're only allowing 10 points per game, 118.5 passing yards per game, 101.5 rushing yards per game. And offensively in their own right, they score 28.5 points per game too. So I'm going with New Orleans again. They're my second team from the preseason. Kyle Sloter is doing a marvelous job on offense for them. And their defense is ferocious. They have the leading sacker in the league. My boy from Georgia, Devin Bellamy, leads the league with 4 sacks. Had a hat trick in week 1.
Right.
And got another one last week. And Jordan Ellis, TJ Logan do a good job running the ball. And like I said, Jonathan Adams had a breakout game last week. They got Johnny Dixon and Sean Poindexter. Taywan Taylor is on this team too. That's a name for you that we know.
Uh-huh.
And, as far as the Stallions, like I said, Jamar Smith has really taken control of the quarterback position. Still don't know what Alex Magoo's injury situation is, but CJ Marable tied for the league lead in rushing touchdowns with 2. And, they have some receivers in their own right. Marlon Williams, Osiris Mitchell, and Victor Bolden Jr. So I think this is going to be a good game. I just don't know if the offenses are going to win out with both high-scoring attacks or if the defenses are going to win out. What does Birmingham? Let's see. Birmingham gives up. See, now that's a problem. That's there you go. That's why I think New Orleans is going to win. Birmingham gives up 26 points per game.
Yeah.
And they give up 180 rushing yards per game. That was a factor. That's why I thought that's why I picked the Generals to beat the Panthers, because in week 1, the Generals put up 223 rushing yards on Birmingham. So I think that's what New Orleans needs to do in this game. Not throw it as much with Kyle Sloter. Run the ball with Jordan Ellis. And what was the other guy I said? I'm blanking on the other running back. TJ Logan. Yeah, they need to run the ball. Birmingham can't stop the run. So, yeah, because they gave up. How many they gave up on Saturday here? Yeah, they gave up another 169 rushing yards on Saturday. So 223 and 169 are the 2 games defensively for them against the running attack. That one is the Breakers are a 3-point favorite. Over under is 44.5. So again, which one do you think wins, offense or defense?
In this one, I think the offense sounds like it might win this one.
The offense?
Yeah, I would go the over in this one, just based on the numbers you were just saying. What was it? Two what?
With the rushing statistics?
Yeah, the rushing stuff.
Birmingham, there are 2 games, 223 and 169.
Yeah, so that's already over 400 yards in 2 games. That's pretty good. So I expect them to get close to 200, if not over 200 again.
That's how many they've given up.
Oh, good. Well, then I expect New Orleans to do that then.
Yeah, this one is that's the highest over under we've had this season is 44.5. 8 p.m. on Fox Saturday night. That one was actually switched. They were initially supposed to play in the next slot, but they kicked them to Saturday's primetime game instead. Makes sense.
Because it's the best game of the weekend, probably. So
that, and it's the hometown team. They have the best crowd for every one of their games. Tickets just $10, y'all. Kids get in free. So,
yeah, I might have to go to the what's the Jersey team called again?
The Generals, but they're all playing in Birmingham, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not playing, they're not traveling. They're all in the same facility.
Oh, well, that's stupid.
It cuts travel costs in a startup season.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Sunday's games. We have the first one, the Pittsburgh Maulers against the Michigan Panthers. Battle of 0-2 teams here. Someone needs to get on the board with a win. And these two teams are absolutely terrible, man. I mean, it is atrocious. Pittsburgh putting up 13 points per game. You think, how can it get any worse than that? But it can. It really can when you have Jeff Fisher leading the Michigan Panthers because they are scoring 9 points per game, y'all.
Oh.
Yep, 9. They lost 17-3 in week 1 to the Bandits, and they lost 10-6 against the Generals last week. However, though, I think the Panthers are going to win. Michigan's defense is fantastic. 13.5 points per game they're giving up right now. Like I said, they've only given up 17 and 10 in 2 games. The Maulers defense, however, 23.5 points per game. They were outstanding in their week 1 second half against the Bandits. Oh, wait, hold on. Who did the Panthers play week 1? They only put up 3 points, though. Are they? Never mind. They're averaging 9 because they have 18 total points. They lost to the Gamblers 17-12 week 1. The Maulers, though, 17-3 week 1 against the Bandits. They shut them out in the second half. It was 17-0 at halftime. But a good performance in the second half. They just couldn't keep up this past weekend with the stars in the passing attack of Brian Scott. So that's an issue for their defense. They give up 219 passing yards per game. But their rushing defense is fantastic, 54 per game. So, granted, that's against 2 teams that don't run the ball very well. Tampa and Philly are not good running attacks. So I think that kind of skews the statistics in the favor of Pittsburgh. But I mean, and Michigan is a decent running attack, 131.5 rushing yards per game. So, but I think it's the Michigan defense that gets it done in the game, despite the atrocious offense of Shea Patterson and Paxton Lynch. I thought Josh Love took a big step this past weekend, but I'm not sure he can beat out the Panthers defense. I think the Panthers defense is going to score a touchdown like we've seen defensive touchdowns being scored. Maybe that wins the game. I don't know. And also 23.5 points giving up per game for the Maulers defense. So, yeah.
Wait, is it possible to tie in this league or no?
No.
Because I was going to say, we could still end up with 2 winless teams after this weekend if that was possible.
Because their overtime procedures, once they go to overtime, it is a 3-round shootout of 2-point conversions, just like the NHL. And then if it's still tied after that, then they go to sudden death, where it's the same. It's literally the same thing as the NHL shootout. Who gets a 2-point conversion and then one doesn't, that team wins.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And they count for the score too. So that will be an interesting thing in terms of people betting the over/under.
Mm-hmm.
We could see something like that where it keeps going up, and then like the under bettors throw stuff at their TV because they had the under in regulation.
Well, I'm calling a bold prediction now that this game is going to be the first overtime game in the league.
What do you think? 0-0 in regulation?
Somebody's going to have to score eventually.
Imagine if it ends
That'd
2-0.
be great.
Game winning 2-point conversion in the fourth round of the shootout.
Oof.
This one is Sunday, May 1st at 2:30 Eastern on USA Network.
Hey, that's how you know that nobody cares about this game. 2:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, I will be simultaneously watching. I'll have this game on my computer, but the NASCAR race is more important. I'll have that on my TV. Actually, oh yeah, because the Penguins will be done with their regular season by Saturday. So, okay, the other game on Sunday, 1-1 teams here. Sunday night, the Generals against the Stars. Yeah, I'm going Philly. I'm kicking myself very much for naming them as my last place team in my preseason predictions. I just didn't believe in the quarterbacks. Brian Scott and Case Cookus are the quarterbacks for Philly, and they were from small schools, and I didn't believe in them, and I hadn't seen them with any NFL experience in terms of being in camp or anything. So I had at least heard of Case Cookus. I had never heard of Brian Scott before.
Well, he's proven you wrong so far.
I know, and he's going to continue to do it, and he's going to more than likely outshine my 1-9 prediction for Philly.
I mean, they already got the one, so unless they lose out, yeah, you got that one wrong.
But yeah, I think that Philly's going to win this game. Brian Scott's just too good, man. The passing attack, 215.5 yards per game. Now, what I hate is that they don't do stats like the NFL. They do it like college. They subtract sack yards from the passing numbers. So that sucks. But anyways, yeah, 215.5 yards per game, though, passing. 23.5 points per game, pretty decent. Not the best, but good enough. The thing is, can Philly's defense stop the number one rushing attack in the league in the New Jersey Generals? They're averaging 168 rushing yards per game. The only issue is they only score 17. Good thing is both these teams are pretty even, though, in terms of offense, defensive points. Jersey gives up 17, scores 17. Philly scores 23.5, gives up 23. So, it's the same thing. But, yeah, and their rushing attack is going to continue to have good numbers, or the rushing defense for the Generals, 72.5 rushing yards against per game. Like I said, Philly doesn't run the ball very well. So I think those numbers are going to be fine. Technically, when you look at it, out of the 6 statistics that Fox Sports puts on these previews on their app, Jersey wins 4 out of 6. They win rushing yards on offense, and then defense, they win all 3. Points allowed, passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed. Granted, they got a big boost by that game against the Panthers, only allowing 6 points and not many rushing or passing yards.
Yeah.
I just think Brian Scott's going to be too good. And it might be a pretty good game. That's if Jersey can continue to run the ball like they have.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with you, though. I think that Philly ends up taking this one because, like you said, Brian Scott's been a surprise, and he's actually been probably the best or one of the best quarterbacks in the league so far. And you mentioned Jersey's game against the Panthers last week. Is that more of an outlier than like what the product we actually saw on the field? I don't know. Like, again, it's only game 3 in this league, so we don't really know how good or bad these teams are just yet. But from what we've seen so far, yeah, I think that Philly has the advantage in this one.
Yeah, Philly wouldn't have a loss if they wouldn't have played New Orleans week 1. And Jersey lost by 4 to the Stallions week 1. So I am mad. I'm not gonna be able to watch this game though. Unless someone's got a login I can use. Because it's at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. But it's on Peacock. I don't have a Peacock login.
I hate that all these sports leagues are doing that now. Because even in baseball now, it's Amazon Prime exclusive games. Like,
I'm not gonna be able to watch a single Thursday night game on NFL this year. But you know me, I'll pay for the subscription.
Yeah, you'll end up doing it.
Amazon Prime. I'm not paying for a Peacock subscription though right now. Not when we don't know if the league is gonna play all 10 games or not.
Yeah, no.
Like
you got a Peacock subscription. If you got a Peacock subscription just to watch the USFL, I think you would be truly a football addict, and you might need to be admitted.
My parents say that all the time that I need to stop. It's fine. I don't have a problem, okay? I'm not at the first step yet. I'm just reverse denial. That's how we do it. But this game here, the Stars are 2.5-point favorites. Over under is 40.5. I'm gonna go with the under. I think it's gonna be close, but I think it goes under. Maybe you get to 38, something like that. I forgot. I don't think I mentioned the spread and the over under for the other game, the Sunday game. The Panthers 2-point favorites against the Maulers, 39.5 on that one. I'm going under. How could you not just absolutely hammer the under in that game? Like I said, the Maulers are scoring 13 and the Panthers are scoring 9. Come on. That's not even close.
No.
So yeah, I would absolutely hammer the 39.5 under for that Panthers Maulers game. Okay. Nothing is popping up on the Twitter feed, so Logan's time to shine.
Yes, sir. It's my Super Bowl. All right. So how do you want me to do this? You want me to run through and give a little bit of give a couple quips? Do you want me to just run through and then you guys?
Let's do it in quarters. So do 8 picks at a time.
All right, sounds good. All right. Number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I got Aiden Hutchinson. Number 2 to Detroit, I got Trevon Walker. Number 3 to the Texans, I got Kayvon Thibodeau. Number 4 to Chris's Jets, I got Ika Mekwanu. Number 5 to New York Giants, I got Evan Neal. 6 to the Panthers, I got Charles Cross. 7 to the Giants, I got Edge Jermaine Johnson. And 8 to the Falcons, I got Kyle Hamilton. And I want to say at the outset, this is a predictive mock draft on my end. I am not the GM in this one. This is simply what I think could happen Thursday night. So don't at me, at your respective GMs.
I gotta say, you threw me off right away. Not with the Hutchinson pick. I think everybody expects that to be number 1 at this point. But right away with number 2, with Johnson to the or not Tigers, to the Lions. I think that was
Walker.
Or Walker, I mean, sorry. Yeah. Walker to the Lions. I think that was already right off the bat a surprise to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am. Go ahead, Rusty.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if you'll have seen Trayvon Walker is now the betting favorite to go number 1. He has moved from plus 150 to minus 150, I believe it is now. So again, we're draft Monday. It's like April Fools every year. Draft Monday, you don't know you don't know who to trust. Your best friend's putting out these retweets on Twitter, and you which ones are the truth and which ones aren't. It's the rumor mills are churning out some good stuff right now. But I still believe Trayvon Walker is going to go number 1 and Hutchinson 2. I know I forget who was saying when I was watching ESPN out there right before the show. I forget who was saying that. I don't remember. They had a couple guys on there, and they all were talking about which things they believe at this point. Thibodeau to the Texans at 3. That's interesting. Texans are a wild card. No one knows what Texans are doing at 3.
That's because the Texans need so much that they could literally go in any direction.
Except quarterback.
Well, yeah. But nobody's going quarterback that early anyway. I think the Broncos, or not the Broncos, the Seahawks are the first team that could go quarterback, I think.
The Lions could at 2. We've seen mock drafts, man. Jordan Reed, I keep going back to his mock draft because he was the first person that I saw put Malik Willis at 2. And now everyone's going like, yeah, like Malik Willis at 2. Let's do it. And then we even saw on a couple of our mock drafts on the Draft Network's platform, when we weren't doing the Lions, and Malik Willis goes 2. So I think 2 Lions at 2 is a little bit of a stretch, but Panthers at 6 are an option still. Obviously, the run at tackles isn't interesting. And then Kyle Hamilton getting to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to comment on the Jets too, because obviously they're my team. In this scenario, the first 3 picks, I think Ekwonu would be my pick here, but I do not want to see the Jets take an offensive lineman with number 4. But in this scenario, I think that would probably be the best available option at number 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I have gotten that consensus from Jets fans that I think, I think the hope is that it's edge at 4 and then wide receiver at 10, right? I think that's been.
I mean, I also really like Sauce, so I wouldn't mind seeing him go at 4, or if he makes it to 10, I wouldn't mind seeing them take him at 10. I've also seen, obviously there's been a lot of talk of the Jets trading out of 10, whether that be with Philly or another team in those teams, and then I would be okay with them getting the receiver in that scenario. But I think it should be both defensive picks in this first round for the Jets.
Okay. Next 8.
All right. Let's see here. All right. So at 9, we got Seattle taking Ahmad Sauce Gardner, best nickname in the draft. At 10, Rusty, you're going to hate me for this one. This is the only projected trade I have in this mock draft, but I have the Pittsburgh Steelers trading up with Chris's Jets to take quarterback Malik Willis. At 11, I got Washington holding pat taking Drake London, wide receiver USC. 12, I got the Vikings going cornerback Derek Stingley. At 13, I got the Texans double dipping at defensive line, taking Jordan Davis, the menace from Georgia. 14, I got the Ravens going with George Karlaftis, edge out of Purdue. 15, I got the Eagles adding another elite separator in Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. And then 16, New Orleans, I got Jamison Williams going to the Saints.
I like Williams because I feel like after his injury, a lot of people are writing him off and kind of forgetting about him. Even if he's not ready for the first quarter or half of the season or however long he's going to take to get on the field, I think once he returns to the field, he might end up being the best receiver in this draft, which I think a lot of people thought he was going to be prior to the injury. So,
Yeah,
I think that'll be
I'll
a
say
steal
this
for New
much.
Orleans if they get that.
Yeah, I'll say this much. I think if Jameis Williams doesn't get hurt, I think he is a lock to be the first wide receiver off the board, and he still could be, in my opinion. I think you could see the Falcons taking him at number 8. I think he could really go that high. I mean, you look at speed kills, right? And every team's looking to chase it. So, I mean, if Henry Ruggs can be the first wide receiver taken in a draft that included Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, I would not be surprised to see Jameson Williams as the wide receiver 1 taken on Thursday.
Yeah, and just my other thought in this group, the trade that you made obviously was my Jets trading out, and Rusty can probably comment on this too because it's his Steelers trading into the spot. But that was a mock trade that we've seen for a long time now because the Steelers were one of the most notorious quarterback needy teams in those late teens and early 20s there. And they are the only quarterback needy team that has not moved yet. Obviously, Washington moved with the Carson Wentz trade, and they now have Carson Wentz. So I don't know if they're going to go quarterback anymore. Seattle, like I said before, is another team I could see going quarterback. And there's a couple other teams. So I don't know if 10 is going to be enough for them to get the quarterback. Obviously, you had them going Willis, which, I mean, I know Rusty wouldn't like that, obviously. And I agree. I think that Pickett would be the better fit there. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, my rationale for this trade was that, there have been rumblings of the Jets wanting to trade out of 10. And there have been rumblings that Pittsburgh would be willing to trade up for a quarterback if they fell out of the top 10. And there have been reports that Tomlin is enamored with Malik Willis. So for a predictive mock, that's the way I went. And because I had the Panthers and Seahawks going at different positions, I felt like that would be, if the board fell that way, I think that's when you would see the Steelers kind of pull the trigger.
Yeah, absolutely hate it. They had on ESPN the percent predicted of the percentage of what chances each quarterback would be at each quarterback needy spot. And at the Steelers, it was between Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis. At the Steelers, it's 16% with Malik Willis, 26% with Kenny Pickett. So I don't know, because the Steelers don't like trading first-round picks. They've only done it a handful of times. Last time they did it was for Minka Fitzpatrick, which worked out stunningly well. The last time they did a move like this was in 2015, I believe it was. Traded from 20 to 10 with the Broncos to go get Devin Bush. So I'm not so sure, especially with the class we have next year, that the Steelers would be willing to trade a first-round pick next year to go get a quarterback this year. I think they're going to wait. I think they're going to wait and see who's there at 20. Because how it's sounding with the quarterbacks this year is that once you hit 20, that is when you're going to see sweet spot 20 to 32, where we could see either the second and third quarterbacks go, or maybe even the first and second quarterbacks go. And they might just end up like the Patriots did last year with a pretty good pick if they just wait on Kenny Pickett. And even if they do have to trade up, I think at the most it would be to 15 with the Eagles to get ahead of New Orleans. Whether that's for whoever. But I don't know if they're willing to trade a first round pick next year for an unsure guy with the class that we have coming out next year. That being said, okay, go ahead.
Well, I just want to kind of follow up the question. Where do you expect their first round pick next year to be, though? Do you expect them to be a playoff team, or do you think they're going to be the first half of the draft next year?
Look, even if they don't make the playoffs, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. So at the very worst,
but he's also never had Mitch Trubisky as quarterback.
Bro, they went 8-8 with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph.
That's true.
So if anyone can go 9-8 at the worst with Mitchell Trubisky, it's Mike Tomlin because he's a coach. So at the very worst, and you're looking at history of Mike Tomlin, they're going to go 9-8. And with how loaded the AFC is, who knows? 9-8 might get you at 7th spot in the playoff. And they had the defense to I think the defense gets them at least 5 wins. So you're telling me Mitch Trubisky can't get you 4 wins? He proved that he could before.
Yeah.
So
here's why I would say that if I'm the Steelers, I would be okay with trading up to get their quarterback, whoever that may be. If it's not Willis, it's Pickett. If it's not Pickett, it's Corral. If it's not Corral, it's Howell. Part of it is for the reasons that you just talked about. This is a really good team, and I think they can be a good team even with Mitch Trubisky. So next year, you're picking in the 20s. You're just not going to be able to get, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. You're not going to be in that arena to get one of the better quarterbacks of the future. Secondly, I think for any one of these guys, I think the situation is perfect in Pittsburgh as opposed to other situations. That's why I didn't have them going with the Panthers or the Seahawks, because in my opinion, those coaching regimes are going to be gone after this season. So if you take Willis for one of those teams, he's going to be going into his sophomore season with a new coaching staff, new OC, new GM. The Steelers, Tomlin's not going anywhere, and that team is good. That team is good everywhere else except the quarterback. So that was my rationale for it. I also do not like the value of doing it. If I were the GM of the Steelers, I would not, because, again, I don't think any of these players in this draft are worth the trade up, right? I just don't think there's those kind of prospects. But I think if they were – what?
There is one way, though, that I could see the Steelers doing this, and it's not for a quarterback. It would be if some miracle happens, one of the top 3 offensive tackles slipped to 10, and the Jets have already taken one at 4. The Steelers need a tackle. They need offensive line help in general. I am not sold that Chuck Okorafor and Zach Banner are the guys, especially Okorafor. I like Banner at right tackle, got injured last year, though. And I know both of those guys can move inside. So that is a way I could see them going up, because that is the only other weakness, I think. I'd put quarterback 1, offensive line 2, and then I'd put off-ball linebacker at 3 in terms of Steelers' needs. So that is a way I can see them going up. But getting off the Steelers, anyways, London to the Commanders is also intriguing. Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin there, as well as the slot legend. What's his face? Why am I blanking on his name? I don't remember his name. I can't right now.
Well,
You talking about De'Ami Brown from UNC?
Oh.
I mean, I obviously don't know what your thinking was, Logan, but my thinking, at least in that scenario, would be McLaurin is in the last year of the deal.
Well, they don't have him anymore. That's fine.
Yeah, McLaurin is in the last year of his deal. And I mean, there hasn't been any rumors of him being traded like there has been with the other receivers from his draft class, but there also hasn't been any news about him wanting to resign there either. So
that's actually exactly what my rationale was. I do think Terry McLaurin's a guy who could be dealt. I think that the stars can align in that way. You look at how the draft capital they gave up to get Carson Wentz. They're in a position to where they can take, as they do in this mock, wide receiver one off the board. I think that's going to be London, could be Garrett Wilson, could be whoever they like. They could flip McLaurin to a really QB or a really wide receiver needy team. Chiefs, Green Bay, Chicago, Colts, and they could get back some of that trade value that they lost in the Carson Wentz trade.
Adam Humphries. Guy.
But yeah, and I mean, it doesn't close the door on a McLaurin extension either. Drake London has a different skill set than McLaurin. So I mean, at worst, you just have a really sick wide receiver room, and then it's almost like Carson Wentz literally can't fail because someone's going to be open. So.
But he can though.
Yeah, I mean, he can find a way. But at least you're eliminating every excuse possible.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Curtis Samuel hasn't been able to stay on the field in his couple of seasons in Washington. So, I hate the Derek Stingley thing because just because of granted moved to a different book and they didn't transfer my futures over, so I'm not even on that book anyways. But one of the futures I did have was Derek Stingley draft position, and it's set right at 12.5. I had him over 12.5, but everyone's mocking him to the Vikings at 12. But hey, we've seen this Vikings and everyone mocking the same person thing, right, Chris?
Yeah, but the players still went in that spot, though. It was just to a different team. It was AVT last year to the Vikings, but the Jets traded up for him.
Karlaftis, that's a pretty high pick for Karlaftis, 14.
Yeah, I'm higher on Karlaftis than I think at least the media and everybody else is. I personally think teams are going to be higher on him. And I think he's a good fit in Baltimore because they got kind of the hyper athletic speed guy in Odafe. Karlaftis is, I mean, he's pretty athletic too, but he's also a bull rush, physical kind of guy. I know that there's been some talk about kind of some of his tape, especially against Ohio State. But the thing is in that game, Ohio State's entire offensive game plan was around eliminating Karlaftis. And they could do that because, I mean, there's no other defenders from Purdue that are coming out in this class. So I think if you put him on a NFL D line, you're going to be able to see him reach that potential.
I just didn't know in my mind if he could stand up as an outside linebacker. The Ravens run it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he can transition to OLB.
Love the Garrett Wilson pick. And yeah, Jameson Williams has been going to New Orleans. That I've seen too. Just saw a video today about his ACL rehab is going pretty well.
And that would be a great pick for Jameis Winston too, with that deep arm of his.
Yeah, when they get him, if that's week 1, I'm not so sure. I mean, he looks good. He looks good in his rehab, but
yeah,
not completely sure that it's going to be week 1 yet. Okay, 17 through 24.
All right. 17 to the Chargers. I got Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State. 18 to your Eagles. I got cornerback Trent McDuffie. 19, New Orleans up again. I got tackle Trevor Penning. The Jets, they traded down with Pittsburgh. They get Traylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. The Pats up at 21, cornerback Kyer Elam. 22 to my Packers, I got offensive tackle Tyler Smith. 23 to the Cards, I got defensive lineman Devontae Wyatt. And then number 24 to the Cowboys, I got linebacker Devin Lloyd.
Olave.
Yes, sir.
So they just paid Mike Williams. And they have Keenan Allen.
Well, I was gonna say, what's Keenan Allen's situation there?
He
I don't
should
know off the top of my head.
He should have at least 2 years, I think.
Mhm.
The Chargers, I don't think they're a receiver away. I mean, they obviously filled a lot of their holes in free agency. And some of the defensive linemen they got Khalil Mack, obviously. But they also didn't re-sign. Brian Bulaga is still a free agent right now. And obviously they hit a home run in Rashawn Slater. But I just don't know who's going to protect Trevor Lawrence's front side.
Trevor Lawrence.
Justin Herbert. They look the same. They both have long hair.
No, but I think the Chargers are one of the teams in the draft with their needs and their draft position don't really meet up very well. So they're more of a BPA kind of draft in this position. They're best player available. And there's an argument for Chris Olave being best player available at this spot. So,
yeah.
And I mean, you can never have too much receiver depth either. So,
yeah, that was kind of my rationale with this. When I looked at the board, I am very low on this tackle class outside of the top tier 1 guys in Cross, Neal, Aquanu. Penning, even though I have him going 19, again, there's a predictive draft. I think he'll go top 20. I don't think he's a first-round talent. I don't like Raymond either. And Tyler Smith, I like. That's why, I have him in the top 32. I think he's going to go in the first round. But for me, Penning he's super raw, man. He's a physical freak in nature, right? I mean, he's as big as a house. But he's a penalty machine. He's grabby. And his physical play led to personal fouls at the FCS level. So this is a guy in Trevor Penning that I don't think can just come in right away and be a good right tackle. So at 17, when I was on the board for the Chargers, I was like, we can bring Bulaga back, or we can sign another kind of stopgap RT for the moment who can be at least decent this year.
Isn't Fisher still out there too, or did he sign somewhere?
Hope he's still will.
Yeah. So now the Chargers wide receiver room is really good. Mike Williams is a good receiver. Keenan Allen's one of the best separators. Jalen Guyton's pretty good. Josh Palmer, developing wide receiver out of Tennessee. But to me, I think Chris Olave could be very impactful for this offense, right? I think he could be a guy that, like, you kind of forget about if you're a defensive coordinator, and then he just kills you and gets like 2 deep balls, 2 touchdowns, and it just causes problems, especially in the AFC West where Chiefs, Raiders, those secondaries are pretty rough. So that's why I went with Olave. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they take like one of these tackles.
Yeah, that's my thing with the division and the pass rushers that are in the division. The Chiefs, they only have one edge rusher in Frank Clark. Chris Jones, technically defensive tackle, but he thrived playing edge later in the season. But then the other 2 teams, the Broncos and Raiders, Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb. And the one I'm really scared about is Max Crosby and Chandler Jones.
Uh-huh.
That one, I think, is the best pass rush duo in the division.
Even better than
outside of the Chargers. We can't talk about the Chargers because obviously they're not going to tackle their own guy.
In practice, they are.
Yeah, okay. Like Justin Herbert gets touched. But yeah, that's the only reason I think about the tackle. Unless they bring back Bulaga somehow. He hasn't played much. A couple of last seasons. So I like McDuffie for the Eagles. Penny, that's a home run first round for the Saints. The issue is, I didn't know the Penning play left at UNI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Just because I, had mocked him to the Chargers so much that he was going to play right tackle for them. But yeah, if he played left at UNI, then they have that whole massive hole on the side. You said he's not going to be ready to play, but if he would get drafted by the Saints, he's going to have to. They don't have anyone else. They have no other players at left tackle.
Yeah. I think if you put him in the right system, right, I think he could develop quicker than anticipated. Saints they're pretty good at developing offensive linemen. When you look at a guy like Brian Ramczyk. So, I do think it'd be a good fit, and then he doesn't have to convert to RT either. He can just stick it LT.
I was going to say, unless you do that, and you have Ramczyk that's already very good, would moving him to the other side in a more important position and then putting Penning at right tackle work or not?
You could, and that might be why they paid Ramczyk all that money. Maybe they were anticipating a move to left tackle.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because just knowing the Eagles, how they did, they drafted Lane Johnson 4th overall in 2013. And with the expectation that he would eventually go to left tackle, and now he's arguably the best right tackle in the NFL, and he just never went to the left side, except for a couple spot things that he had to, because they didn't have other people there. But it's an interesting situation what these teams decide to do with these guys facing the sides. which personally, I never played offensive line except for center in youth ball. But I mean, I know how to kick step, and I don't think there's very much of a difference in terms of pass protection anyways. Now, it's definitely different when you look at the run game and, which side you're going. Some offenses have the tackles pulling too, just like the guards. So that's a different rip arm and whatnot. But in terms of pass protection, left tackle, right tackle, I don't see a big difference. That's just me though. Chris, do you like Burks?
Yeah, that's the one thing obviously that stuck out to me in this section. Burks, I'm probably a little higher on than some of the other receivers. That's partially due to the fact that early on mock drafts had him as either the top receiver or one of the top receivers, as opposed to the fourth or fifth guy off the board in yours here, Logan. But so I don't really know why he fell, whether it was his own doing or if it was just the other guys kind of have passed him in the combine and all that other stuff.
Other guys have combines.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is just one of those things where people put too much stock in the combine.
Yep.
And Burks is actually still one of the better receivers in this draft. So if the Jets do this in this scenario and trade back 10 spots and still get Burks, I would love that. And the only way I wouldn't like this is if they do go out and get a guy like Deebo Samuel. Even though I don't want Deebo Samuel, but if they do already get an established veteran guy, I don't think they need to go receiver in the first round.
Yeah, my rationale for the Jets here was you look at the guys who they've been connected to this offseason. Apart from Tyreek Hill, you got A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf. I think they are looking for that very physical guy. And in this class, it's Treylon Burks. Now, Treylon Burks has fallen because of the combine. He didn't test as well as people expected. They kind of expected him to be this kind of athletic freak. But I think his athletic testing has become way overblown. People are saying he's a big guy who can't run fast. He can run fast. It's just a matter of getting him out in space so that he can accelerate. He has a second gear that is special. On the play, I believe he had a 95-yard touchdown run last year. On that play, his top speed came out to 22 miles per hour. That is blazing for anybody, let alone a guy who's 225. So I still love Burks. I'm high on him. He's a guy that if he somehow falls to 22, I would love in green and gold. But I do think he would be a great fit for the Jets.
I mean, he still ran. Didn't he still run 4.4?
No, he ran 4.5.
Okay. The next four I thought were fun as well. Elam is a guy that we've had in mock drafts. We had him to the Patriots when we had Darius on the Patriots mock draft. And it's interesting because I don't know where that line is for teams with first round corners. Because I feel like Elam's right on the border of whether he goes in the first or whether he goes early second, Because I think he's that last guy that is first round eligible, really.
Yeah.
Your Packers? Tyler Smith?
Yep.
All right.
Tyler Smith. So Tyler Smith is my dark horse first round guy who I think is going to be there. And again, this is a predictive mock, so this isn't necessarily what I would do. I wouldn't be terribly mad if I saw Tyler Smith go to us at 22. The reason I picked him here is because he fits every threshold that the Packers have, and the Packers are one of those teams that have specific thresholds that guys have to meet. They have size, athleticism, and age profiles. If I was a GM, I would have loved Devontae Wyatt here because to me, he's the best interior pass rusher in this class, and I would love to put him next to Kenny Clark on the D line. But he's 24. Packers categorically will not draft him because he's too old in their book.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyler Smith is 21. He's about 6'5", 325 pounds. And his relative athletic score was about 8.77. So he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, and he's got their age threshold. I think he's a guy who could play left guard and then eventually kick out in a pinch and develop into the LT of the future.
Yeah, the Cardinals with Devontae Wyatt, I agree with that selection. If Elam would be there, I think the Cardinals have to jump on a corner if there's one worth of the spot because, I mean, behind Byron Murphy are two guys that are decent. You know, Marco Wilson, former draft pick of the Colts, and then the former first round pick for the Vikings, Jeff Gladney. They signed him after his legal troubles, but they don't have much after those three. So I think if there's a corner there, I think that's definitely what they got to do. I like the Wyatt pick. Otherwise, I could see a receiver for them too. Really, you know, they re-signed AJ Green, but Rondale Moore wasn't that exciting in his rookie season. Obviously, they still had Christian Kirk there to be the number 2 to D-Hop. But, you know, D-Hop's been getting injured recently. So I think a little insurance policy at the wide receiver position, too, would be a possibility for Arizona.
Yeah, I think if Burks falls there, I think they sprint in the card. Like, I think that is, like, the guy they would be looking for. Christian Watson, maybe, because he also has that kind of big-time speed. You can use him on jet sweeps and stuff. But that's a little rich for my blood. I think it's probably a little rich for other teams, too, on him. So that's why I ended up going pass rusher, because after losing Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt just cannot stay healthy. Like, they don't have anybody who can rush the passer. Devontae Wyatt's the best interior rusher in this class, but
they got some guys that I like. Marcus Golden is very underrated. Then they got I forget what his nickname was, but he has a guy. I'd have to look it up, but this guy has a great nickname. Dennis Gardeck, though, love Dennis Gardeck. He's even more underrated because people don't know about him. And then Devon Kennard. They also have him at outside linebacker as well. I like those three, anyways. Yeah, Devin Lloyd to the Cowboys. So is that a move to keep Micah Parsons at edge?
So for me, my rationale on this is Devin Lloyd to me is kind of like a diet Micah Parsons. Like, he is an off-ball linebacker who has pass rush upside that you can use at OLB. For me, you put him and Micah Parsons on the same front seven, you can have unparalleled versatility in your front seven. And that'll just be, it can make up for the loss of Randy Gregory. It can, you know, you can still use Micah Parsons as off-ball edge. You can switch those guys up. Whoever rushes the passer can drop into coverage. Whoever, in whatever the assignments, you can mix them up. So that's why I went with that one, even though they do also have Jabril Cox on the roster. I just think the versatility would be really fun to watch.
And they re-signed Leighton Vander Esch. For me, I think the Cowboys have to go offensive line. Obviously, there's not a tackle, but there's interior guys available. Zion Johnson, Tyler Linderbaum as well for the Cowboys, I think would be other solid selections. All right, last 8. I'm getting hungry.
All right. All right, here we go. 25. We got Tyler Linderbaum, center Iowa, going to the Bills. 26, Tennessee Titans are taking quarterback Desmond Ridder. 27, the Buccaneers, I got taking interior D lineman Travis Jones. 28, my Packers are taking George Pickens, wide receiver, Georgia. 29, I got the Chiefs taking Christian Watson, wide receiver, North Dakota State. At 30, again, I have the Chiefs taking Andrew Booth Jr., quarterback out of Clemson. 31, I got the Bengals taking Lewis Seen, safety out of Georgia. And at 32, quarterback Kenny Pickett goes to the Lions.
Wow. There's some surprise picks in that section there. I think the two most obvious ones were the Packers and Chiefs wide receivers there. I think a lot of people, regardless of who they are, have the Packers and Chiefs picking wide receivers back to back in those two picks. I've seen the reverse of that a lot, actually, with Christian Watson going to Green Bay and Pickens going to Kansas City. But let's reverse a couple picks there. I think the first surprise for me was your second pick there with now I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden.
Ridder.
Desmond Ridder?
Yeah, Desmond Ridder going to the Titans. Obviously, Tannehill hasn't been the answer in Tennessee, but also I feel like quarterback's always important, but for a team like the Titans, I don't think quarterback is a huge need because they have a guy like Derrick Henry in the backfield. So as long as they have a guy that can carry the load like Henry, they just need a quarterback that can do the play action stuff, and they'll win 9 or 10 games every year. I think their problem was the defense. Now, off the top of my head, based on your mock draft, I can't think of who's available on defense at that pick, but I mean, there's a guy that you picked 31, was it, with the Bengals, Lewis Seen, or 32 with, or not 32, with 30 with Andrew Booth. Those two guys I think would fit there too, because, like I said, the Titans defense, specifically the secondary, was just atrocious last year. But yeah.
So part of me going offense with here and going QB, I'm baking in hopefully Caleb Farley, their first round selection last year, can stay healthy. That's a big if. So if I were them, I definitely would build in some insurance. I think they can do that later in the draft. For me, I think the Titans are at a crossroads at a team. They can do one of two things. They can look to the future, or they can double down, try and win now. The reason why I went with kind of going to the future, Derrick Henry's coming off a pretty major injury, of which he missed quite a lot of time. When you look at running backs, now he's a different breed. Obviously, he is ginormous. He is just a different running back. But the cutoff comes sooner than expected, especially if you have a guy coming off of injuries. And we saw last year, Tannehill just wasn't the guy that could carry them once Derrick Henry was gone. So for my money here, I got a guy in Desmond Ridder who, in the interim, while we still got Derrick Henry, hopefully a couple of years of Derrick Henry's prime, we can develop under Tannehill, and then hopefully he can move into the starting role.
Yeah, I think the Titans have more holes than people think. I'm seeing 3 right now in terms of just positions, not actual number of spots. But, nose tackle, they lost Daquan Jones to the Bills in free agency. So Tyre Tart is their nose tackle right now. And offensive line, the guard spots specifically, Aaron Brewer and Nate Davis are slotted in. Like I said, there's still a guy there. You didn't put him in the first round. Zion Johnson, I think, is the number 1 guard available. I don't know. Tyler Smith has positional versatility, I think, to play either. But I think Zion Johnson would be a stupendous pick outside of what you have in Ridder. And then wide receiver. I mean, the A.J. Brown rumors, obviously. But even with A.J. Brown, they have A.J. Brown, Robert Woods, and then the next guy is Nick Westbrook-Akina is your third receiver. Now, they do have a guy they drafted in the 4th round 2 years ago in Des Fitzpatrick, who's been developing. And I think he could be an option as that third receiver. But it's pretty thin after the top 2 guys. So, Watson, I could see even getting up to Tennessee at 26 possibly. I think that would be a good fit as well there. I was going to say Travis Jones too to the Titans would be a good pick when he went the pick after that to Tampa, which I think is great. They still haven't re-signed Ndamukong Suh yet, so to go with the cheaper, younger option at the defensive end, you have him D end, right? Because Vita Vea.
Yeah, I think what you do is you have Vita Vea at kind of the 1 tech or nose, and then you got Travis Jones kind of at that 3 tech. He can play 3 tech. He played 3 tech at UConn, and he's got the athleticism to kind of move. He can generate some interior pass rush, so that's where I would put him. Yeah,
I mean, he was awesome at the Senior Bowl, disruptive as hell. Pickens to the Packers. That's a good one. Him coming back to play a couple plays in the SEC title game and then to play the entire national championship, I think was awesome to see for one. But yeah, I mean, the Packers, they're gonna get a jump ball, big 6'4" guy that can do it all, and he's faster than people think. So.
Yep, bingo. So George Pickens is my draft crush this year. This is the guy. This is the guy I need in green and gold. He just has that alpha X mentality. He's big. He's 6'3", 6'4", just a hair under 200 pounds. And the thing why I think he's a really good fit in Green Bay and why I think he is probably pretty high on their board is he's a really good run blocker. The Packers ask their wide receivers to block on the outside a ton because of the sweeps, the zone concepts to the outside. So he really can do a lot of things. And I think the big question mark coming into the offseason for him was, is he healthy? Well, he went to the combine, he ran 4.4. So, I mean, the injury's doing well. Like you said, he can move a lot better than people give him credit for. And I just think he would be the number 1 option that we sorely need right
now. And then, yeah, obviously the Chiefs need to draft a receiver. But I'm going to go to the last 2. Scene being the second safety. over Brisker, Jalen Petrie as well. That's a move.
And it's just interesting too that in general that you had seen going in the first round, because I've seen a lot of mock drafts that don't have any other safeties other than Hamilton going in the first round. Like all those other guys that Rusty just mentioned, they're all projected mostly in like the early second round. So,
So seeing creeping into the first round for me might be a product of Packers draft Twitter, because Packers draft Twitter is enamored with Lewis Cine and wants him, if not at 28, at 22. Now, I am not in that camp, but I have been hearing some round one conversation. To me, it would be in the bottom 2 picks where I have him here. And the reason why I went with the Bengals is because of the Jesse Bates contract. Extension talks don't look like they're happening anytime soon. And, I mean, he can still get playing time year one. You could put him in the slot. Hopefully, you know, you want to – with this pick at 31, I think you want to make sure that Eli Apple stays off the field as much as possible, whether that's through a safety or a cornerback. Take your pick, but that's why I went with Cine here.
Yeah, and I mean the other surprising part about that pick too is, I mean, I know that the Bengals kind of addressed it in the offseason through free agency, and so I guess it's not as big of a need now, but it still is a need for them. And there's probably not too many guys available at this pick, but offensive line was a huge need for them, obviously, coming into the offseason. They fixed it a little bit signing I'm blanking on the guy.
Well, they signed Kappa and Collins. And they signed Ted Karras.
But as we've seen in the last few Super Bowls, with the Chiefs, with their offensive line struggles in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, and then pretty much throughout the entire playoffs for the Bengals last year, you can never have too much offensive line help. Like, I don't know if it was a record, but the Bengals definitely came close to the record if it wasn't the record of number of times sacked in the playoffs.
Oh, it was.
They did.
It was the record? Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah, 9 against the Titans. I don't think – I think they can wait with what they did in free agency. Looking at their depth chart, I really like their 5. And even their backups are pretty good. You know, the starting 5 from left to right, Jonah Williams, Jackson Carman, who they drafted, Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, Lyle Collins. The right side's going to be fantastic for them. That should be where they run more often than not. But then, you know, they have Trey Hill as a backup interior guy who's been pretty decent for them. And then a guy they also drafted backing up Carman right now is Hakeem Adeniji. They do need to get that backup swing tackle, though, which I think they can do in the second round. Because if with the guys that went here, especially with Tyler Smith going in the first round, I think it'd be a stretch for the next tackle, which would probably be Bernard Raymond, I think. So, you know, like I said, though, my option for the trade back with the Bengals is still there, which I came up with on the fly on that was on Friday, I think it was. Chris, I said the Falcons come up to 31 from, I think they're at 39 or 42, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
They
come up to 31 and get Matt Corral in front of the Lions.
Yeah. And the way this board worked, especially if they want to go safety or DB here, that would be very advantageous because, like you guys said, Brisker, Jalen Petrie, Dax Hill, Kyler Gordon, those guys are all still on the board and would likely – one of those guys would still be on the board at 43.
Yeah. I think that would be a win-win if the Bengals can get out of the first round. And then Pickett is my guy. My ride or die Pittsburgher. I don't want to see him in Honolulu blue. But yeah, man, that's solid. Had
Thanks, dude.
interesting. I wrote it down. So I mean, obviously I had the picture too that you sent me, but
Yeah, I think you have a
that
high chance of a success rate there with a lot of your picks there.
Thanks,
This
man.
will-
Thanks,
this will
I
be-
appreciate it.
This will be sitting on top of my cooler. That is going to be my my stand on my side, off camera stand where I'm gonna have all my papers for Thursday night. But yeah, that is the show for today. It'll be USFL Week 4. We'll be talking about next Monday. But yeah, we'll be recapping USFL Week 3. As well as the NFL draft. We will talk about all of our reactions to just general reactions to the first round specifically, and any other sleepers that we really loved in the second and third day of the draft. And then, we won't have a show Friday because of the draft, but that Friday after that is when we will have our, actually, I got to switch that up. Because I said on Friday that the next Friday show would be our first division-specific draft recap, what we like to call the 8th round series.
Nice.
But that will be actually our second one, because the Monday show after, or no, never mind. What am I saying? No, yeah, the next Friday show will be our first one. I'm just confusing myself at this point. It's because I'm
hungry. Yep.
It's because I'm hungry, and the dining hall that I go to closes in 22 minutes. So we gotta go. But yeah, that's the show for today. Had a lot of fun talking ball, all kinds of ball. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Go check out our new Instagram posts that Chris finally got.
Yes, I know.
Nice.
With all of our previous mock drafts from the last couple of shows. And happy draft week, y'all. And we will see you Wednesday night. We'll put a post out when we get the time nailed down for our mock draft.
Yep.
Our complete one and only complete 2022 first round mock draft on Wednesday night. All right, y'all.